Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. And over the weekend, we had one of WWE's big signature events, the Royal Rumble 2022 edition. Of course, they had all the pomp and circumstance, 44,000+ people there, big matches. But the question is, did it really land with a lot of people? Now, I've already seen some people saying it's like the worst Rumble ever and all this other kind of stuff. Is it the worst Rumble ever? You know, is it really as bad as people say it is? Or is it, yeah, it is that bad. I'm going to talk about it today in this video as we kind of look back at the tradition of the 30-man and now 30-woman Royal Rumbles that are held in every January. But before we get to that, I want to remind you guys this is YouTube, so I do appreciate it if you do hit that like button. And you might as well hit the subscribe button and the notification bell while you're down there. Helps this video reach other people, and it helps the YouTube algorithm show it to other people. So I definitely appreciate that. So I guess if I'm going to give my review of the Royal Rumble 2022, I'm going to, I think, again, we're going to start off with the disclaimer first, and then we're going to start off with the good stuff and the bad stuff, because I know that some people will be watching this who've never seen my channel before and who are WWE fans, and I'm going to put this disclaimer out there so you know where I'm coming from. I've been watching wrestling since 1985. I was a big fan of WWF in the 80s, the 90s, and most of the 2000s. Have not been a big fan of the way they've changed the show over the last 10, 15 years. So I guess you would call me a casual WWE observer. I can't even really say I'm a fan as much. And I'm a big fan of pro wrestling more than I am of a company. So I like the concept of a pro wrestling show more than I'm, identifying with any particular companies. That being said, sports entertainment being different than pro wrestling is not really, I have issues with it. It's not really something I would want to watch as much as I would want to watch pro wrestling. So, the other side of that, though, is that I have come to terms with the fact over the last couple of years that I cannot look at and review or expect a pro wrestling show from WWE. I should expect a sports entertainment show, so I'm looking at the show as a sports entertainment show and not a wrestling show. That being said, now that we have that out the way, let's talk about the positives and negatives of the show. On the positive side, I think the opening match with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins was really good. I love the surprise of Seth coming out to the Shield music through the crowd with the whole jacket on, the whole whatever they call paramilitary outfit that they had on. That was pretty cool. Roman's reaction to it was pretty cool. And the match itself was pretty solid. I was like, okay, we're off to a good start here. This is pretty rock. I mean, Roman has proven over the last couple of years that he actually can wrestle, despite what people, used to say about him. And Seth Rollins, we all know Seth Rollins is really good. And, a lot of their timing was really good in this match, and some of the near falls were pretty decent. But as always, and here we get to an issue where I think sports entertainment misses out. As good as this was as a sports entertainment match, as a pro wrestling match, going that another 5 minutes and going deeper into the battle between these two would have been more satisfying. But what they did is they decided to go for DQ finish. It looked like it was a very clever thing with the ref holding up Seth's arm and then his arm falling on the rope. And I thought they were going to do this whole thing like, his arm wouldn't have fallen on the rope. He was out. The ref kind of saved him. I thought they were going to go with that, which I was like, that would be really cool. But then they just had Roman hold on and then get disqualified. I was like, oh. And then they went on with the hitting Seth over and over again with the chair, and then, I'm like, there was something good there. I liked the match, and there was something good there that I thought they were going to do at the ending, and then they just turned it into, I don't know. We'll have to see what the outcome is on Raw and WWE Weekly TV to find out if they're going to do anything more with the story, or is it over because of what happens later in the night. Other positives are I will say the end of the women's Royal Rumble match, even though the women's Royal Rumble match was very weird. We'll talk about that in the negatives. I do like the ending when they got Baszler and Ronda Rousey in there at the same time against some of the WWE stalwarts like Charlotte and Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. That was kind of interesting to see those clashes happen. The video package for Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley was absolutely fantastic. And again, sports entertainment, It's a lot about the production quality. WWE's production quality is top notch. It's better. It's the one thing where you can say, one thing for me where I say, compared to the other companies in their genre, WWE is still number one when it comes to production quality. And that package is great. And I think the best thing on the show, though, was, of course, the swerve that happened at the end. Spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. But at the end of the Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar match, Brock is pretty much handing Lashley his ass at this point. And Roman comes in, and we kind of felt this was going to happen. And Roman comes in and attacks Brock, and then he looks over at Paul Heyman, who looks fearful, who's holding the championship. And then Roman holds out his hand, and because Heyman is a master at doing this stuff, Heyman looks like he's scared, and then reluctantly, not so reluctantly, hands over the belt to Roman so Roman can clock Brock with it, and then smirks and then walks off. So it was a triple cross from Heyman, which is pretty cool. I like that. That was a great swerve. I like the way they did it. Lashley winds up winning and becoming a two-time champion here, and he does get the win over Brock Lesnar in this long-awaited match. The match itself, I like the match, but I think I was expecting a little bit more offense out of Lashley. I was expecting them to make it a little bit more even, but they basically protected Brock. Really protected him in the finish, and then really protected him as far as a character later on. And I think the last really good thing, I think the men's Rumble match was better than the women's to some degree. To some degree, and then not as good in other. Actually, I would say the women's match was probably. I scratched that. I'll take it back. I think the women's Royal Rumble match was pretty good. I don't think any of them were as good as the ones we've had in the past. I can't see where people say these were the worst Rumble matches. The matches than we've ever had. Now the negatives, even though I like Ronda Rousey and I like Brock Lesnar, I think it feels like we're going backwards in time with both of them winning their respective Royal Rumble matches. Thus, and also the way they did it, it makes it coming in late and just winning it makes the rest of the roster feel like it just doesn't matter. None of you guys really matter. And that's part of the reason why I think it does feel to a lot of people like the roster doesn't matter. Even to me as a casual observer, when I do check out WWE once a month, I see the rest of the roster and it's like, I don't really care about them. You can hear the crowd really doesn't care about them. It's like, the only people I should really pay attention to here are Roman, Brock, Ronda, Charlotte, Becky, and that's really it. Nobody else really matters. Even if they win the championship, like Big E got tossed out in a very unceremonious way. No drama behind it. And the Royal Rumble, he's a former champion recently. So that I didn't like that. I know a lot of fans are not going to like the fact that we're going back 4 years to literally we're going back 4 years. We're going backwards 4 years. Brock and Roman again, and Ronda and Becky Lynch again with Charlotte, and it seems a bit off. I can understand, and I did get that sense after the show. I was like, man, it's like we've just like regressed. We haven't progressed at all. Whereas just like last year, it seemed like they were trying to progress, and I guess they're not doing that anymore. So the Dewdrop match with Becky Lynch, it needed work. I don't think it worked the way they thought it was going to work. So on that one. The women's Rumble match, it seemed although I like seeing some of the older stars coming back, it really became apparent to me as the match went on that this wasn't, we're going to bring back these characters to give them a moment in the spotlight as far as, being a credible diva, or not, I shouldn't say diva, a credible superstar. We brought them back because we don't have enough women on the roster that you care about to put in this thing, to not have this match be, every time somebody comes out for people to go, we had to bring back all of these older ladies. I mean, some of them are pretty, I think Ivory's like in her 60s, even though Ivory's one was kind of the funnier ones. I liked hers. But a lot of them, they would come in and they get tossed out. Mickie James came in as Impact Champion, got a roar from the crowd. And the first day that they had, when she got to the ring, of course, Undertaker's wife had to go botch her, go smack her before she got in the ring and make her look like an idiot. Lita's return was pretty cool. I like that. And one thing I really did like, actually, I should have put this in the positives, is the Naomi, Sonya Deville thing. I thought they did that really well. Again, I don't watch WWE Weekly TV. I remember that from day one that this was a feud going on, and I kind of know what it's about, that Sonya Deville's kind of a authority figure and is just she doesn't like Naomi for some reason and gives Naomi a hard time. Just slight hints at possible racial overtones to it or whatever, but that doesn't even really matter. They performed it like they actually hated each other. This is where it's like, this is what I talk about with WWE. In this instance, I suspended my disbelief and could get into it and believe that Naomi and Sonya Deville actually hated each other. And I could believe that. Whereas everything else, and that's a good contrast to everything else in the Women's Rumble match, that felt like people were pretending to do stuff. They were pretending to fight. Whereas Sonya Deville and Naomi's thing felt like two women who actually hated each other, and that's what's missing a lot from sports entertainment. And that's the problem with the sports entertainment style, is that it's all done tongue-in-cheek. Nobody's really serious about it. It's just all, hey, look at the lights and look at the explosions. And once the matches start, So overall, I think, what else was good on the show, or bad on the show? I think that was pretty much it. I didn't like, Brock coming out. Oh, well, Shinsuke and some of those guys going out, and no Finn Balor, no Cesaro in the Rumble, that men's Rumble, that was kind of weird. Omos, I thought they were going to do more with him in the men's Rumble. But that's pretty much it. The Johnny Knoxville thing was okay. The overwhelming thing comes in is that Brock comes in at number 30, and for the third time they've done this, where he goes into a Money in the Bank match, or a cage match, or a Hell in a Cell match, or Elimination Chamber. He just comes in and just at the last minute and just basically screw everybody who's been working this hard. I'm just going to come in and just grab the damn championship title shot. And I think if you want Brock to be the face in the match, and I'm not sure that they do, but it makes it very hard to like Brock, because you feel like this guy the character gets a lot of the privilege, and they've been back and forth on Brock. A lot of people cheered him, a lot of people booing him. You can't get a gauge on him, but it's almost kind of like he cheats. He's like a privileged person who can just come in and get whatever he wants at the last minute, even though he's big enough and talented enough to earn it. Well, I don't have to earn it because I'm Brock Lesnar, so I'm just going to come in at the end of this thing and just take it. It leaves very few people to cheer for the main events. If the main events are going to be Becky Lynch against Ronda Rousey on night 1 and Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar on night 2, and they keep booking Brock like this, which they had done a good job of building him up as a face, but now it's like they're going to get double boos. They're going to get Becky's going to get cheered over Ronda, depending on how the audience is now. And I think the crowd's just going to shit all over yet a fourth Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns main event at WrestleMania. But, I could be wrong about that, because it's been 4 years and the crowds have changed somewhat. A lot of the angry crowd has moved over to AEW anyway. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But we'll see. And we'll see if they can do something different with it, mixing it up a little bit between now and WrestleMania. So the Rumble, it was average. I think the big three moments for me were the Seth and Roman's match was really good. The Swerve and the Bobby Lashley match with Brock Lesnar was good. And the promo package for Bobby Lashley versus Brock was good. And a couple other surprises here and there. Like I said, the thing that had the most heat for me was Naomi and Sonya Deville. Feel bad for Kofi Kingston botching his spot. And that felt pretty, I think we all felt bad for him in that. But, it is what it is. But that's what I think about the show. Tell me what you guys think. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and reviews on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.